Who doesn't love watching two people head over heels in love with one another, affirm that love, mutual respect, and trust in each other with each waking day? Successful romance stories give us hope that love will prevail no matter the odds, and that everyone deserves a happy ending. They're about people coming together, cementing a partnership, and facing the world together. And there's something really nice and I think really human about even a superhero's decision to team up with their romantic partner forever via marriage. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. Today we're going to be counting down the top 10 married superhero couples. Some of these couples are 100% super, but all of them are at least 50% or more super. And before we jump into this list, just a quick little update about what's going on over here. Where am I? What's happening? So you might have remembered this backdrop from a while ago, and yes, things are getting a little interesting here. So to stay safe, I will be recording from my home once more, so you get to visit it. Lola's here, Pablo's here, BMO's here. We got all the good stuff. I got Miles and Gwen behind me. So yes, I hope that you enjoy my surrounding, and I'll try to make it as good for audio as I can for you. That doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. I'll try to make sure my audio is good for you. I'll try. And beyond that, we also have something else that is super interesting that I need to tell you about. We are launching a new gaming channel. Head on over to Viper Girl and subscribe now, where we'll be playing everything from Cyberpunk 2077 to Minecraft and more. Check it out.
Oh my gosh, I almost died. I thought you were a cactus, my friend. I thought you were a cactus. We've got iron, baby. Yes. Okay, my main goal is to blow up and then act like I don't know nobody. Bro. No, I'm gonna fight you with a pork chop. No, come here. This is awesome.
I am so excited for this new channel. All right, now let's get back to these super marriages. Number 10, Spider-Man and Mary Jane. I know there's probably going to be a lot of outrage because I put these two in the number 10 spot on my list, but I'm also trying to keep this list to mostly super to super couples. So, you know, the fact that Spider-Man and Mary Jane even made my cut at all just goes to show you how much I really love and respect the ongoing relationship that these two have had in the comics. Spider-Man and Mary Jane are no longer married, but it has been hinted in the comics recently that we could see a return to these two potentially renewing their vows and getting married once more, undoing the undoing of their original marriage, which happened during the events of One More Day, where Peter gave up their marriage in a deal with Mephisto to save Aunt May. In the Secret Wars miniseries Renew Your Vows, Marvel was actually able to see just how much fans love these two together when that series ended up having massively high sales, proving that we love seeing Peter and Mary Jane together, not just as a couple, but as a family unit too. So maybe we'll see something like that. I'm into it. Number 9, Aquaman and Mera. Aquaman and Mera have been married before, but they also recently got married again. After the New 52 reboot, however, at DC, Aquaman and Mera's first marriage was apparently wiped out of existence. Now, finally, after a long, tumultuous romance and engagement filled with tons of comic book obstacles, they are finally together once more. Even more impressive, Aquaman managed to surprise Mera with the wedding, and she liked that. She was like, yay, surprise wedding. I feel like most people would not enjoy having a wedding sprung on them with all their family and friends, but I guess for Mera and Arthur, they were just like, hey, you know, it's been a long time coming at this point, let's just do it, and Mera was ready to go with the flow. It was super cute, I will say. Number 8, Gambit and Rogue. I love that these two basically hijacked someone else's wedding in order to tie the knot. Gambit and Rogue gave us a surprise wedding when Kitty Pryde and Colossus, who were actually set to get married at that time, ended up deciding not to go through with their wedding. Seizing the opportunity, Gambit and Rogue decided to step in and chose not to waste the moment, getting married in their fellow mutant's stead and cementing their love for one another. A love that honestly has teased us for what feels like centuries. So I'm so happy they're finally married. It's so cute. Number 7, Batman and Catwoman. Batman and Catwoman have been married on alternate Earths and even in alternate timelines, but they also at one point walked down the aisle in today's main continuity as well, or at least almost. While the wedding didn't end up happening and Selina even betrayed Batman on the same day she was meant to marry him, they also ended up having a moment together following the events of Flashpoint, where it finally seemed like they were going to pull the trigger and get married in a much less lavish setting, simply planning on going to see a judge to get their marriage validated. Instead, their love for one another left them lost in the moment and one another for an entire evening. The next morning, they both realized, hey, they never ended up actually going to see the judge, but instead both agreed that they actually didn't really need anyone to sign off on their marriage, nor did they ever need a lavish wedding. For Batman and Catwoman at that point, they looked at it like, we already operate outside the law, so why should our love for one another and our marriage to one another need to be validated by the law? Not going to lie, I kind of love that technically Catwoman and Batman never need to actually get married in order for them to consider being married to one another, and in order for them considering their partnership to be valid. So they don't really have like a marriage certificate, but they're still pretty much married. Number 6, Hulkling and Wiccan. These two might be newlyweds, but their marriage also marked a huge milestone for Marvel, being the first gay marriage between two superheroes at that publisher. I can't believe it actually took us this long, actually. Very surprising. It took a long time for Hulkling and Wiccan to progress in their relationship, but slowly and surely, over time, their relationship grew and evolved to the point that now I honestly can't imagine a world where they are not together. They just belong with one another. Both share an understanding of one another that helps to elevate not just themselves, but their partner. They are strong apart, but honestly, they're even stronger together. And even a massive intergalactic war could not separate these two. Number 5, Midnighter and Apollo. These two had a pretty strange and kind of divisive wedding issue when they did get married, but they were also the couple that paved the way for others like Hulkling and Wiccan, and even Northstar and his husband Kyle Jinadu, both married couples from Marvel. Midnighter and Apollo are from Wildstorm, Jim Lee's indie publisher, which would later become a DC imprint, meaning that now Midnighter and Apollo are technically DC heroes, or anti-heroes. Midnighter and Apollo ended up getting married in the early 2000s, and I believe were the first same-sex superhero marriage, not just within DC, but ever in comics. Since New 52, their initial marriage has been undone, but they are still often known for being a couple. So unfair that their marriage has been undone. Number 4, Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. The marriage between Reed Richards and Sue Storm is one of the oldest, long-lasting marriages left to us today. Despite all the problems these two have faced together and had to confront about the other, they remain together and are often presented as being a strong couple. Sue and Reed's status as the first family of Marvel means that we'll likely never see these two split because of, well, just what they represent at that publisher. A sense of reliability and togetherness, which radiates out into so many other Marvel titles today. Sue and Reed are both members of the Fantastic Four and have 2 super children together. Franklin Richards, who has of late short-circuiting but usually immensely powerful reality warping powers, and Valeria Richards, named by her godfather Dr. Doom after his first love, who is potentially on the road to become, if not already, an even more brilliant mind than both her genius parents combined. Number 3, Superman and Lois Lane. One of the most iconic marriages out there is definitely the married couple that is Lois and Superman, or Lois and Clark. This wedding was a long time coming, especially for Lois, I imagine, who initially in her own series, Lois Lane, Superman's girlfriend, spent a long time dropping hints for Superman to not just date her, but to marry her as well. Though, I mean, such was the time. That's what people did back then. Lois and Superman finally got married in the 90s, for the second time actually. They've been married twice in the main continuity, in fact. While the New 52 seemingly undid their marriage by rebooting the characters, we were then fortunate enough to also have our favorite couple survive. Whew. So their marriage wasn't undone. So in the New 52, there actually ended up being 2 versions of Lois and Superman, one of which was the couple that was first married in 1996. Yay! Or for them first married. Like I said, Silver Age, Golden Age, it's a lot of things. Not even a DC reboot can stop these two from being together. While Lois isn't herself a superhero in the conventional sense, she is definitely a hero in the everyday sense, working as a hard-hitting journalist, and honestly, that's a profession often underappreciated today. Journalists are basically heroes. Everyday heroes. Real-world heroes. Number 2, Black Panther and Storm. You know your relationship is big news when the Watcher calls a ceasefire in the midst of a civil war. For Black Panther and Storm, their union was also about more than just their love for one another, although that was definitely a big part of it. These two coming together represented a powerful union for the nation of Wakanda, who in Storm had gained a fierce goddess for a queen, and their union also represented the coming together of two different worlds, the Avengers and the X-Men, who very often didn't quite see eye to eye, despite both being heroic groups. But for T'Challa and Ororo, this union was also very personal, with the pair of them falling for each other at a young age, only to have their various commitments to their own teams often keep them apart. But finally, they had committed to be together. Although their marriage did not last and ended in divorce, their love for one another still burns bright, and so many fans hope that we'll one day get to see these two come together again. Number 1, Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. They may not have been married quite as long as Sue and Reed, but Mr. Miracle and Big Barda have still been together since their marriage in 1974, which is still an impressively long time, I think, especially in comics. Also, oddly enough, both couples were drawn by Jack Kirby. Maybe being drawn by Kirby is the secret to a happy marriage? Or it could be that old adage that reveals their true secret to longevity: giant wife, happy life. Scott Free and Big Barda definitely seem to have a pretty happy life together overall. They both complement one another so well when it comes to their personalities and their skill sets. It's no wonder that they are still happily married today in 2021. And I have an honorary marriage superhero couple for you as well. They didn't make my cut because they never got to tie the knot, but in my opinion, that's just because these two were robbed of their happy ending together. The honorary almost married superhero couple for today is none other than Batwoman, Kate Kane, and her fiance, Maggie Sawyer. Maggie was Kate's longtime girlfriend, and while not a superhero per se, she was a police captain, so in a way was often fighting against a lot of Gotham's criminals in her own heroic capacity. Unfortunately, DC didn't let the creatives behind Batwoman see the engagement through to the end, giving the reasoning of heroes shouldn't have happy personal lives as their excuse. What are some of your favorite superhero married couples? Who would you like to see tie the knot? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you as always to stay safe and stay nerdy, my friends.